Hey kiddos, it's Miss Felt and you are in the art room. Yay, pretty exciting, isn't it? All right, what we're going to be doing today, I am going to show you guys how to draw and paint a spooky tree. All right, some of my third graders, you started a project, this project to be exact, and it's a value experiment. You did this background, which is a lovely full moon with glowing gray sky that radiates from that moon, and it starts light, 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 and gets darker, darker, darker as it goes down. Okay, some of you, in fact, are walking past my window right now. Hey, kids, hey, hey, hey. Yes, I am videotaping. I'm going to sketch the tree first on here. So what we want to do, you want to start with a pencil first. Here's my pencil. And I'm going to first start at the bottom of this tree. So I'll keep this one over here for me to reference, and we'll sketch from here. So the first thing I want you to notice about this tree is that it's not just the trunk of it is not just a rectangle, okay? The trunk of it is actually kind of wobbly. It is rectangular, but it goes in and out. So I'm going to press pretty hard for you so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I started sort of in a corner because I want my spooky tree to kind of lean. The trunk cannot just be one line. I'm going to let it go kind of in front of the moon, but not super, super, super in front of the moon, okay? Now, as I'm drawing, you're seeing that I'm getting skinnier and skinnier as I go up. I don't want the thickness of this trunk to stay. I don't want it to stay this thick and fat the entire time I'm drawing. Because trees, especially spooky ones, they start to creep out almost like spider legs, and they fan out once you get up to the top area, okay? So I have these two spooky lines, and that's the trunk of my tree. If I want to attach this and make the top of this just like one line, I could. If I wanted to try and do maybe something like splitting this into two, I could. I think what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go ahead and split it in two because I like these to look more spidery. So I'm going to start from the top of this right line and draw wobbly, wobbly down, kind of spinning my pencil even until it looks like that branch is kind of split off. Now I'm going to extend this branch and then put that there because I don't want it to look just like one big chunk. So after you have the trunk of your tree, that's when you're going to start doing your branches. You can see on this one that the branches, there's two layers of branches. The first layer of branches is the thick, sturdy branches. So we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sturdy branches that are on this tree right here. And those sturdy branches have little tiny skinny twiggy branches on top of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by mapping out my strong looking branches. So the first one I'm going to draw, I guess I'll sketch one right here. And generally, when you're sketching branches, you want them to kind of reach up toward the sky. And I'm just going to draw my two lines like that, and then leave the end open for now. I'm going to draw another one, kind of maybe in a little bit different of a place. Also make sure that my lines are wobbly. Okay, and leave those open for now too. You don't want it to look totally even. And just like the giant tree trunk in the very middle, you want your branches to get smaller and skinnier as they go and grow out away from the tree. Okay? Let me see. I'm going to do this one. I'm actually, since I don't want this one to look exactly like that one, I'm going to split this one. So I'm going to go like this and then go off in a different direction. And then when I go to close these up later, I'm going to make it look like two parts of a strong branch. And I guess I can do one more right up here. Just for good measure, I'm going to add one more branch down here that's just kind of hanging out. Now, all of these branches are made with diagonal lines. I'm not doing horizontal lines. We don't want to stick it straight out from the tree because trees usually don't grow like that. Okay, all the trees are, these had leaves on them at one time, and leaves are always toward the top of the tree. They're always reaching toward the sky. Now that I've got that sketched out, I am going to sketch out my smaller branches. First, let me break up this one. I'm just going to kind of make like a V shape and close in those 2 branches. I'm also going to close this one, do a little V on the end. I kind of like doing these little V's because I feel like it looks a little more spidery looking. Makes it look a little more broken up. And you can make them pointy at the edge, which makes it look like a spooky tree. So next what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw the little skinny branches off the edge of it. Skinny branches are not going to be 2 lines like this. They're going to be one. One wobbly line, one wobbly line, kind of like hairs almost coming off of these sturdy branches on the trunk. One wobbly line, one wobbly line, one wobbly line, one wobbly line, one wobbly line. Now I'm not overdoing it. I'm not doing tons and tons and tons. I'm doing some here and there. Okay? One wobbly line, one wobbly line. You can see I'm kind of spreading it out and spreading it around. Wobbly, wobbly line. Not making them straight outlines, am I? No, definitely not making them straight outlines. Now this tree that we're going to color in later, it's going to be a silhouette. Silhouette is just the contour shape except filled in with black. We can't see any details inside of this tree. We're not going to be painting the wood texture on this tree or the bark texture. We're just going to be filling it in with black because it is sitting in front of the moon, which is a very, very strong light source. So the other side of this tree, if we were to step inside this picture and walk around to the other side of the tree, we would see that it was lit up very brightly. But since this side of the tree is not getting any of the light from the moon, it's just in shadow. That's why we're filling it in with black. Now, I've got a lot of these wobbly lines done, these little tiny twigs, but if you want to do extra detail, which if you look closely at these, you can see that there's even more going on in there. On top of these wobbly lines, I can also paint little teeny tiny wobbly lines so that my teeny branches are actually looking more like that. So you can see the little wobbly lines right on top of there. And I can keep filling them in as I go. Now I'm just going to draw some more of these real quick. Then I'll slow us back down once we're ready. So I'm going to go get my plate and I'm going to put some black paint on it. This is Blick. I love this brand. This is tempera paint, which is washable, so if you get it on your clothes, you can always wash it off. I'm also going to get a small paintbrush because small paintbrushes are going to allow me to get those teeny tiny branches on there, okay? So I have my plate. I have my paintbrush, which you can see is a really small bristle. It's exactly what I want. And now I'm going to give myself some black paint. Now this is probably going to be plenty of black paint for me. When I dip my paintbrush into my paint, I'm not going to scoop, okay? Because scooping is going to give me a giant glob. You just touch the brush into the paint and you have a little bit of paint. That should be plenty enough to make a very soft wobbly mark, which is what we want, okay? You don't want to dip so hard that it actually, the paint goes into and onto the metal part of your bristles, like all past the bristles. You can see how my paintbrush, there's still parts right there, those part of my bristles that don't even have paint on them, okay? That's what you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the trunk of this tree and the big branches. After that, we're going to go over how to fill in the short part. Okay guys, so what I've got going on here, my video cut out a little while ago, and I started to paint these really, really skinny lines. The way that I painted these skinny lines, after I painted the big, thick branches here, and these branches right here, the sturdier ones, all I did was I went and I cleaned off my paintbrush on my plate. You're going to take your paintbrush, and you're going to dip it into your paint. Just the tip, really, and then you're going to slowly roll it out of the paint. So now I've got this very gentle amount of paint on here that enables me, having a tiny bit of paint, if I drag it softly, I can make a small wobbly line. And it looks a lot like a tree branch, which is what we want. So you're going to see me dip in and out of here. Now I started to paint these very, very small lines. I guess I'll paint one right here so that you can see it. I'm starting at the thick part, so I'll start either at the trunk or on the big branch. And I'm going to drag away from that, pressing very soft and lifting my brush. You want to press very soft. You don't want to press hard, because if you press hard, you're going to give yourself a big fat branch, and it's also not going to look wobbly and nature made. It's going to look really like a straight line. And trees don't often make straight lines, okay? So you can see that branch I just painted. It started here at this big trunk, and then it slowly got wobblier and thinner until it breaks off over in this direction. And I have little tiny twigs going off of these smaller branches, but none of them are the exact same shape, none of them are sticking in the exact same direction. They're kind of all going all over the place. Now, I haven't finished this side yet. This side's still in pencil, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my paper over, because I don't want to drag my hand on top of all of this stuff I just painted. So if I turn it over, I can work right here, because I'm right-handed. If you were left-handed, you're going to end up doing the opposite. So I'm going to start painting. You want to make sure this is very soft, you're painting, okay? You want to be able to control the paintbrush and control the mark you make. I want you to be able to make as small or as fat of a mark as you need to make. Because a lot of being a really good artist is just knowing your tools and knowing how to use them. And that's why you are in art class, to learn how to use these tools. Being able to apply pressure or not apply pressure, which right now, what am I doing? Am I applying pressure while I'm painting this? Not at all. I am barely touching the paper. So, that tree has a lot more spooky branches on it than this guy does. This one's just skinnier and more spindly all around. I also made my moon a lot larger in this one, and the gray in my background is a lot lighter, which I think makes this whole thing feel a little bit lighter and brighter. This one is covering up much more of that moon. I painted the moon smaller this time around, and I also have my background overall. You can see that for the most part it's a little bit darker than this one is right here. Okay, and I also painted way more of those twigs in here that fills in a lot of the space, and your eye is going to try and blend those twigs colors, and this one is looking darker to you, which is totally fine. I love both of these trees. I don't think either one of them is better than the other. I just think that I made different choices when I was painting these at different times. I might have even used a smaller brush for some of the stuff around here the first time I painted. Okay, so what you guys are going to do, you're going to follow along with the steps that I just gave you. You're going to draw some spooky trees. Drawing trees is one of the best ways that an artist can practice controlling their hands, because trees are made up of so many lines and we see them all of the time. So you can go walk right outside into nature and have a reference, something that you can study. And remember, when you're sketching something, artists use live models, which means that you're going to work off of an actual tree that you can see in nature than a photograph of a tree. You could work off of a photograph of a tree, but you don't want to always do that. okay?